On today's show, how did Moritz Seider become a top pairing defenseman? And part two of my discussion with Sebastian Jackson on a variety of topics. This is Locked On NHL Prospects.
You are Locked On NHL Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to Locked On NHL Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On this podcast, I break down everything prospects related for you, Monday to Friday, 5 days a week. I'm Hadi Kalakash. I'm a scout and prospect analyst across multiple platforms, including this one. And I've got a very good episode for you today. First, I'm going to break down the ins and outs of Moritz Seider's development and growth into a top pairing defenseman, starting at the draft in 2019 up to this day, and what's progressed in his game in general. And then we'll listen to part two of my discussion from yesterday with Sebastian Jackson from Smart Scouting, the Wellesley Applejacks. He's a scout who works for multiple platforms as well. And most importantly, he is a committee member for the Black Girl Hockey Club, an activist group that is doing a lot of very good work in the hockey community to uplift Black girls especially. So before we get into any of that, though, I just want to remind you to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcasting platform, make sure to make us your first listen of the day. It's always much appreciated. So let's get right into it. I wanted to sort of break down Moritz Seider's development as a prospect because honestly, this came out of left field for me. I wasn't really expecting much out of Moritz Seider in his draft year. He was drafted 6th overall in 2019, and Steve Yzerman shocked the entire hockey world by announcing his name at the podium there at 6th overall. He was projected in the 20s on most, if not all, boards. Quick shout out to Tony Ferrari, by the way, who's a scout on multiple platforms as well. He does some work for the Hockey News. He was the first scout that I saw who had Moritz Seider in the top 15. I think he had him at 12th overall in his final rankings. And I mean, back then, Moritz Seider looked like a smart and dependable right-handed defenseman who had a lot of defensive upside. He could close gaps really well, defend in transition, defend in his own zone extremely well. But there were major concerns about his offensive upside. He didn't really show much in terms of puck skills or offensive zone habits that indicated that he could score 50 points in the NHL, much less in his rookie year. So Steve Yzerman and his scouting team clearly saw the runway of growth in Seider's game that sort of warranted a top 10 pick for them. As they went ahead and selected him at 6th overall. He probably could have slipped. I don't think there were many teams who were that high on him. They probably could have traded back and gotten a decent pick and still gotten, Seider, let's say in the 10 to 15 range if they really liked him that much. But I guess they just didn't want to run the risk at all of him slipping. So they went ahead and jumped on him at 6th overall. And yeah, I mean, they were right about that. Going from the DEL straight to the NHL was going to be extremely tough and impossible. So they went through a couple steps, which I'll outline, but man, Seider is looking exceptional. I mean, he won the Calder trophy last year and scored 50 points as a defenseman in his rookie year. It's not for nothing. He did a very great job of exploiting his strength and growing his game over the 2 years after his draft. So I wanted to break that down for you. So first, the Wings signed him right away out of his draft and placed him in the AHL for his draft plus 1 year. And he put up 2 goals and 20 assists for 22 points in 49 games. His contract slid in that year since he wasn't playing in the NHL. So he's actually in the final year of his entry-level contract right now. He's due to get signed in the offseason by the Red Wings. So that was for his first season. It was pretty tough competition for him. And basically they wanted to place him in a situation where he was playing against tougher players than in the DEL, the German top league. And to help him get accustomed to North American ice. So I think the AHL was a good compromise for him. And he was clearly good enough for that level, but he was having trouble getting those top line minutes and playing on the power play and all that. And I think the essence of what was needed in Seider's game in order to develop him into a top pairing defender, a defender worth the top 6 pick, was to give him as many opportunities as possible to explore his offensive side. So since he had a lot of hard forecheckers on his back, he had little space to work with on breakouts. He wasn't really able to explore his play with the puck and get comfortable handling the puck for longer periods of possession. So the Red Wings loaned him to Rogla in the SHL for his draft plus 2 season. So the season after he played for the Grand Rapids Griffins and put up 22 points in 49 games. And Rugla was fresh out of having developed Nils Höglander from the Vancouver Canucks, who's a very decent prospect, who was one of the first, homegrown prospects to come out of their pipeline and go decently high in the draft. So they had sort of started to prove their worth as a development farm. So when he went there and developed the way he did, it just really put Rugla on the map, and you saw more and more prospects join their ranks. So yeah, I mean, Seider went there. He had all the opportunities he wanted to develop his offensive side. He ended up putting up 7 goals and 21 assists for 28 points in 41 games for Rugla, with teammates calling him a generational player. He was showing growth in multiple areas, not just his offensive side. He became, more physical. And this was a player who was already physical in his draft year, but you saw a lot more of that coming out. And then on top of that, he got very comfortable with the puck. He was able to showcase how shifty and elusive he can be with the puck for a guy of his size, while maintaining that defensive reliability, while not relinquishing possession easily. This is a prospect who regularly put the puck in good areas for his team, and with each game with Rugla in the SHL, he got better and better and more comfortable with the puck, to the point where he headed out of there a completely different player than he headed into that season. His tools needed work. He needed some development in specific areas to sort of round out his game and give him more areas of responsibility as a player, instead of sort of being pegged into a defensive defenseman role. He sort of became a proper two-way defender who can do a bit of everything, right? So yeah, I mean, since hockey sense was always a strength for Seider, that made him a very easy player to teach, because he already understood the game at an advanced level and was able to understand the teachings and apply them on the ice in ways that benefited his growth. He was conscious of where he was and where he needed to be, and that helped him a lot in terms of developing his game into something potent. So that's a growth that we saw in Seider's game. So when he made his way to the Red Wings in preseason last year and blew everyone away with his play, he was an easy plug into the opening lineup. He started on the second pair. Then before you knew it, he was on the first pair, and before you knew it, he was playing the most minutes on that Red Wings blue line night in and night out, to the point where he was trusted with all scenarios and put up 7 goals, 43 assists for 50 points in his rookie year in the NHL, and won the Calder Trophy. So the progression, to me, it's really about his learning environment and where he was placed and how pivotal each stop was in his development. I rarely like to see prospects go from league to league to league in their development path, but in Seider's game, it was very calculated. It wasn't like he was being traded mid-season and he wasn't doing well at one level, so let's try a different level since that one doesn't work. That's detrimental. But Seider played well at every level, and every time he changed leagues, it was with a specific objective in mind to make him a better stick handler, a better passer, a better shooter. In the case of his move to the SHL, his move to the AHL out of his draft year was specifically to get him accustomed to the North American style and pace of play, so that he can keep that in mind after he goes to the SHL and grows those areas of his game, just to keep that idea that I'm not going to have this much space at the next level. I need to play pucks quickly, and et cetera, et cetera. So at each stop in his development was pivotal in creating the prospect that you see today. So that's really sort of the sum of what happened with Seider and why he is where he is today, is that he was placed in the right leagues at the right moments and was taught the right things at each step of the way. And there's a lot to learn there for development teams who are looking to emulate what we saw with Seider and his growth in hockey. But he did have the foundations of hockey sense, of defensive dependability. So it was easy for him to develop his game, after that, and become the player that we see today. But that sums it up for Moritz Seider. Now we're going to go into the discussion with Sebastian Jackson from Spot Scouting and the Wellesley Applejacks in just a moment after these messages.
Do you like betting?
BetOnline.net is your number one source for any wager that interests you. From the NFL to the NBA to the MLB, and even NCAA football, UFC, golf, anything you like, they have you covered. You can find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in depth analysis on every game on their website or app. They're, of course, a great source for all of your sports wagering information with live betting so you can keep up with bets as they unfold. They've got up to the minute scores for every sport out there. They're the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online, where the game starts. All right, so we're back for part 2 of Sebastian Jackson's appearance on the Locked On NHL Prospects podcast. Now, again, Sebastian works for Smart Scouting as an OHL scout, for the Wellesley Applejacks as a junior C scout, and he's a committee member on the Black Girl Hockey Club. So now let's keep going with what we were discussing last time about OHL prospects outside of the Kitchener Rangers. So I wanted to just have you talk me through what you like about Calum, Ritchie, and what you've seen from him so far this season.
Calum, Ritchie reminds me of like what the hockey that I grew up watching.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about every team in the NHL right now would love to have a Tom Wilson, but unfortunately, there's only one Tom Wilson in the OHL or in the NHL. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Calum Ritchie is very, very skilled and very, very mean.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be an impact player in the NHL, both offensively, physically, and he's going to be a floor. Because I think he's one of the few prospects that lights it up as a center in the OHL that will be a center in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
Just an unreal prospect, a very great skater, has a mind for the net. Finishes his checks, doesn't matter where they are, how they are. And he's just, I love this player. I love this player. We don't get too many players like this anymore. I love the newer game because it's a lot faster, a lot more skilled than what I grew up watching.
Mm-hmm.
Once in a while, it is nice to have this hybrid come in once in a while. And this guy's a horse. He's, this is, if you don't get the first overall pick in the draft, it's wherever you can get Ritchie, that's a win.
Yep, absolutely. For me, Ritchie is in my sort of 5 to 10 range in terms of prospects. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And there's plenty of opportunity for him to move up and down the lineup, or up and down. The 1 through 10. I mean, obviously he's not going to touch 1. He's probably not going to touch 2.
Yeah.
But there's an opportunity for him to break into the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what's going on with that hockey group in Canada, but I imagine he'll be on their list for the World Juniors if that's even a thing.
Yep.
For Canada this year, we don't know what's going on, but. He'll have an opportunity there. I don't know if he makes it.
Mm-hmm.
Might be a year early, but I think moving forward, especially this year, with we know what the top of this draft looks like. But if you can get multiple picks in the 1 through 50, do it.
Yeah,
because the gap. We say this every year. We were saying it last year too. The gap between like 20 and 50 was thin last year, but we weren't seeing, sexy names out there.
Yeah.
We weren't seeing the names that are going to be out there this year. We're not seeing the skill that's going to be out there like there is this year.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he'll have every opportunity. He's the bright spot in Oshawa.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the direction of their team looks like, but he's the center of everything.
Yep.
I love this prospect. He's 5 to 10 seems right. Someone's getting a steal there.
Yeah, almost definitely. The one thing that really shone through is, despite the fact that he's a big, skilled, mean guy, His hockey sense is through the roof. It's genuinely through the roof. It's excellent stuff that I've seen from him. Especially off the puck, his ability to demand space, occupy the ice in different ways. It's genuinely excellent. And I don't know if you've seen some of the same stuff that I have, but just his ability to read the game 2-3 steps in advance is what's impressed me the most. Yes, he's physical. Yes, he's very skilled. He's got great on puck skills, but man, the ability to dictate the game and make decisions 2-3 steps in advance is absolutely fantastic. What do you think about that?
Yeah, this is an elite. He's an elite player.
Yeah.
He'll flirt. I think he'll flirt at the end of the day with that generational title that we very few hand out.
Yep.
That's the kind of draft that this is going to be. But yeah, he's just one of the smartest players, and I don't think anybody expected this. I think even Oshawa, I think they knew what they were getting. As a 16-year-old, they were getting a guy that was probably going to play in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think anybody expected that we were going to get this type of player. And again, this guy's just he's a beast.
Yeah.
Like there's any other year. I mean, this year the first overall pick is going to change the outlook of an organization for the next 15 years.
100%.
Drastically change it. Any other year, this is the kind of player that, and again, we don't see these players often. There's one Tom Wilson in the NHL, and even though he might not be, a top 25, top 50 player in terms of skill, he's not far outside of that, and teams would be willing to pay up half their prospect pool and picks just to get him in their lineup. And Washington knows that, and they're never going to do it. The opportunity is there for somebody to add this player for free in the draft, and just very, very, very smart and very responsible. There's not a lot about his game that I haven't liked. I think that a majority of what needs to be worked on is surrounding his team.
Yeah.
But no, I like this player. I agree with your assessment.
100%. Moving on from Ritchie, I just wanted to have a quick word on Denver Barkey, because man, it seems like every time I watch this player, every time I watch the London Knights and someone does something interesting, I'm like, whoa, who did that? It ended up being Denver Barkey. Have you seen a lot of him, and what have you liked from him so far?
I saw him a lot last year. I've seen him once this year. Obviously, unfortunately, size is going to be an issue.
Yeah.
With scouts, but he's very highly skilled. And, the points last year weren't pretty, but oftentimes he was very noticeable just in the way he moves, the way he thinks the game. He wasn't really given top six minutes in a lot of the games that I saw him, so he wasn't really paired with the proper personnel that would allow him to be successful on the offensive side.
Yeah.
But no, he's a game changer as well. London they're not going to be a very good team this year, so he's going to have every opportunity to be, to drive that offense. It's a very high skilled. I like his skating ability. I like, and he's not, for a small guy, he's not afraid of much.
Yeah.
He doesn't shy away from anything. Another player that I like, another player, I don't necessarily see top 20 in the draft for him. I think he slips out. I think that, people are going to make a big deal about his height, which I hate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Shouldn't be an issue.
We're starting to see a lot of shorter players, become game changers. It's the way that the NHL has swung. He'll be fine. I really like him. I don't know what his full upside is offensively, because I'm having trouble figuring out whether he's going to be a shooter or more of a playmaker at the next level. But he'll add both of those to his raw prospects here in the OHL. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, no, exactly. For me, from what I've seen from Barkey so far, he's cemented himself in my first round. I think I've got him at 24th or 25th right now. Do you think, if size wasn't an issue, if NHL teams just purely look at skill, was this a first round prospect?
Yeah, the offensive upside reads that this is probably a top 15 type player.
Yeah.
Certainly in any other year for sure.
Mhm.
I don't. It depends, and it all depends too, because I think more organizations right now are going to be out here looking for the Calum Ritchies over the Denver Barkeys, but
For sure.
if you this, like I said, this is a player that's just I don't know what his offensive upside is yet. It's high.
Cool.
It's high. I don't know what it translates to at the next level. Like I said, I don't know whether he's going to be, the shot on his line, or if he's going to be the playmaker on his line. And really, it doesn't. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You need both.
Yep.
But yeah, I think he's got to figure that out. But he's a first round prospect, and again, in any other normal year, he's probably a top 15 pick.
For sure. So we'll continue with a bit of talk about your work with Wellesley Applejacks and the Black Girl Hockey Club right after these messages. First off, I want to talk to you about Simply Safe. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen Simply Safe home security to protect their home. If you got that many people on board, you're definitely doing something right. Simply Safe's priority is your safety. They protect you using cutting-edge security tech powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who've always got your back. I love what Simply Safe has to offer. From crystal clear HD live stream of your security cameras to full control of your system from your phone with their app, and smarter ways to detect real break-ins so you aren't pestered with false alarms while you're going about your workday. They've got sensors for everything from burglaries to fires to floods and other threats to your home. They've really got you covered. You can customize your perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/lockedonnhl. You can save 20% on your Simply Safe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplysafe.com/lockedonnhl to learn more. Again, that's simplysafe.com/lockedonnhl. There's no safe like Simply Safe. All right. So, again, Sebastian Jackson from Smart Scouting, the Wellesley Applejacks, and the Black Girl Hockey Club. We're going to talk about those final two organizations that I mentioned there, in the next couple of minutes here. So I just wanted to sort of have you talk me through your role with the Wellesley Applejacks and what it entails, what your responsibilities are for them.
Yeah, for sure. I've been around the PGHL for a little while. I live in kind of the epicenter of it. I used to be an AGM in the league and a vice president. And I wanted to get back into it. And I knew the Gerber family in Wellesley, so I reached out to them. And I just said, hey, what's your organizational need right now? Excuse me. And Brock Gerber, who I've known, for a number of years, he said, this is what I need. He's like, we just want somebody who's in the city that can get out, watch some midget games, find us some APs, find us the next round of players. Wellesley is a premier organization. They're always one of the best teams in league wide. And they've developed some players over the years, and we've been able to bring some back in from the OHL and the OJHL and the Junior B League. So we've had a lot of success for a town that's only got a couple thousand people. It doesn't even have a Tim Hortons. That's how small it is. But no, I'm at their games and I'm walking them through. I have my iPad set up and I'm just sharing thoughts of, hey, you got your players taking this route and the other team's picked up on it. Maybe you should try something else, stuff like that. And they've been very receptive. It's a very good group. I've never worked with a better group in my life. And I always appreciate the fact that they took me on, because it felt for years that hockey didn't want somebody who looked like me in their organization, but they don't. They were the first to be like, nope, come in, be yourself, do what you do what you've done that's make you successful. So I've done that, and I do AAA games and high school games in the Kitchener-Waterloo area. I try to find us. We we always have lots of AP spots, so we're trying to get, maybe players who might be entering the OHL draft next year, see if we can get them in a game or two, or just try and find some hidden gems, and we're having success doing that. It's a world-class organization, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
For sure. And what's the main thing you've learned from, first, it seems like it's more than just scouting. You do some tactical analysis for them as well, help them out a bit all over the place. But what's the main thing you've learned specifically from scouting for a junior team?
It's a lot more difficult than the scouting that I do when I'm at a Rangers game or an OHL game. Because, it's hard to look at the analytics side when they're, 14, 15 years old, because it's kind of just a wild card. Coaches aren't building their lineups based off that. It's just, all the skills at the top of the lineup, less skilled players, I hate to put it that way, fall on the second and the third lines. But it changes your outlook a little bit, because this is where it really relies on the eye test. Because you and I both know we can watch a prospect, and I've done it 100 times where I'm watching a prospect in the OHL who puts up 120, 130 points, and you're like, oh, this guy's going to put it over. And then you go and look at some of those deeper numbers, and you're like, holy crap, this guy should never touch the ice in a professional league. You rely more on the eye test at this level. Especially with goalies, which is risky. But no, it's just one of the things I've learned is at this level is just trust your eyes. And there are some times where I will try and track a player and run it through an analytics system just to see, all right, am I seeing the right thing? And oftentimes it comes back as I am. But it's one of those, trust your eye tests. And the other thing you probably learn is just to stay away from parents.
Oh yeah, no, that's for sure. Like already scouting online, the DMs are kind of crazy. So I can't imagine in real life what it looks like. And finally, I just wanted to sort of have you, and most importantly, I wanted to talk a bit about the Black Girl Hockey Club, your role within the organization. So first, what's the organization's mission, and what's your role within that mission?
It's just to uplift Black girls in hockey, because that's we don't see too many Black girls in hockey, and it goes beyond Black girls, but that's the main focus. We do scholarships and lots of it, and generous amounts too. We have different tiers. Some will get 1,000, some will get 5,000. We do scholarships, but it's just we strictly focus on diversity and inclusion. For me, I joined the organization because I was, bullied again for the color of my skin, and I talked about walking away, and somebody reached out to me through, and he's a famous scribe, but I don't really feel comfortable mentioning him right now.
Of course, for obvious reasons.
Within 2 days, I reached out to Black Girl Hockey Club, and I had a video interview with Renee, who's the CEO, and like that's she's done this with her team, but this is hers. Met with her, and it just seemed like a perfect fit. And honestly, I thought that I was going to have more to add, because I didn't realize that there was more of us. I didn't realize that there was. So on the first day, I got invited in. I was on the committee that helped build the Get Uncomfortable pledge. And I was like, oh, I got all these ideas, and I can't wait to just stand up and say something. We get in the Zoom chat, and there's 20 or 30 other people. They all look like me, and they're like, all right, so what's next? And everybody, it seemed like we were all on the same page, because we all had the same ideas, but we were never able to say what our ideas were, because there was always somebody before us like, oh, hey, I think we should do this. And you're like, I was going to do that. Like, it meshed so well. And the Get Uncomfortable campaign has been a success. It's, it was meant to disrupt racism on and off the ice, and for people to hold themselves accountable. So if you took the pledge, you're pledging to do a number of things. in your hiring practices or just the way that you go about your everyday life. If you have that really wild uncle that once he has a few beers is saying something, that's the time to stand up and be like, hey, look, I pledged to do this. You're not going to say these things in my space. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been great. It's a great organization. I can go on all day and say great things about everybody from top to, I mean, there's no bottom. Like we're all there together. It's insane how much I love that group too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's so great, and we're doing a lot of things. There's some expansion and yeah, it's like we're not even close to achieving our goal.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. There's still a lot of work to get done, but it's amazing to see this group come to life in my lifetime as a member of the hockey community, to see a group that's focused on diversity and inclusion, you know, form and do so much important pivotal work within the community. It's absolutely excellent. I just wanted to end it on a quick note on Black Girl Hockey Club Canada and this, their launch at the Scotiabank Pond today. Would you mind sort of talking me through, what that's about and what's going to be going on today?
Yeah, so this is a project that's been going on for a while, and at the forefront of this is Roy Tinker, and I'm wearing the Yale University sweater. I bought it because I wanted to represent her in any way that I could.
Mm-hmm.
She's such an impressive person. She's doing so much in her life that I don't know how she keeps adding stuff, but it
Yeah.
blow. And here's the thing, like I say it blows my mind, but like because I don't see anybody else who's able to do this, but she's so calm and collected, and like she's the perfect face for a project like this.
Mhm.
But she's done a lot of the heavy lifting for it. This is a project that's near and dear to all of us because for me as a Canadian, and there was a couple of us in the organization that are Canadian.
Mhm.
We're not able to just fly out and go to Pittsburgh when they're there, or go to California when they're there. It was a little hard. So now we have something here, and when we do those launches and in other cities, we're going to be able to attend. It'll be a little easier. But
Yeah.
yeah, they're launching today. It's a long time coming. Like I want to say this is well over a year's worth of work coming together today. I know Renee's flown in for this, and a few other for sure. They're just it's going to be a skate. It looks like they're going to play some hockey today because there's going to be some equipment there. It's going to be a great day. Black Girl Hockey Club Canada is on the map, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this does nationwide because it's gonna catch on in Ontario real quick and in places like British Columbia. But I'm curious to see the work that we can do in provinces like Quebec and in Eastern Canada. So.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. It's very exciting. If you're in the Canada region, I guess, or the Canadian country,
Mhm.
be sure to check it out online. And there's a donation link set up. Feel free to drop some money. Let it, and it'll be going to a good place. It's scholarships. It's organizations that diverse in education or diverse in inclusion. So.
Yep. Perfect. Well, it's been great to have you on, Sebastian. Again, you can find Sebastian at Seb Jackson 90 on Twitter. You can find me at HattieK_scouting on Twitter. Make sure to like and subscribe if you liked what you're hearing and want to see some more. You can subscribe this podcast on YouTube. And if you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform, make sure to make us your first listen of the day. This has been Hattie Kalakash with Sebastian Jackson, and we will see you next time.